Welcome to the Child Anxiety FAQ podcast. FAQ stands for Frequently Asked Questions, and I'll be answering your questions about child and teen anxiety. My name is Dawn Friedman, and I have been working with kids and families for over 30 years as a preschool teacher, parent educator, family case manager, clinical counselor, and now as the facilitator of Child Anxiety Support, a program for parents of anxious kids. All right, let's get started. Hey, everybody. This week's question is not actually a question anybody asked me, but I have found myself talking about it a whole lot lately with folks who have reached out to me for help. And that is, how can I help my anxious teen? Or what are some specific tips you have for parents of anxious teens? And basically, I am using this as an excuse to go on my rant about sleep. Sleep is oh so important for all growing beings and those of us who are grown as well, but definitely for teenagers. Their brains are growing so quickly right now. Their brains have not been growing this much since they were toddlers. And now they've got these growing brains and a shift in their sleep cycles. So it is natural that they want to stay awake longer and sleep in later. And of course, our modern industrial age does not really support this. There is a push to have high school start later, and then kids would get out later and they would get more sleep, but it would also push football and after school clubs and homework and all of that later. So I don't know if we're ever going to get to it, but mostly sleep. It's an incredibly protective factor for mental health. We know that it helps with anxiety. We know that it helps with depression. And yet we still do not put the focus on it that I really wish we would. We as a culture do not have great sleep hygiene. Some sleep hygiene recommendations are that you not use your bedroom for doing homework, putting together your models, hanging out on your phone, that those things happen elsewhere and that a bedroom is really for rest and taking care of yourself and sleeping. We don't really do that with our kids. Most of the time, their room is the place where they're doing homework or studying, and that can create some associations with your bedroom as being a place of stress, of where you're studying for that math exam that you're worried about, where you're trying to focus on writing that paper that maybe you're not super excited about or really struggling with. And also, of course, no screens should be in rooms, and that includes a television. Lots of people have a television in their kids' rooms, and I don't have any moral feelings about this, but I do have some mental health concerns about it because, again, bedrooms are not for playing video games and not for watching shows. They are supposed to be for sleeping, which leads us to phones. I can't tell you the number of kids that I have had in my office, and the parents have brought them in there because of their struggles with anxiety and depression. And I say, you need to have your phone off at night. It needs to not be in your bedroom. And the parents say, oh, but they have to have their phone in their bedroom because that's where they charge it. You can charge it some other place in the house. Or the parents say, oh, they have to have the phone in their room because they use it as an alarm clock. You know what? Target has alarm clocks. Amazon has alarm clocks. You can get a good old-fashioned alarm clock. Heck, you can probably hit a garage sale and get yourself an alarm clock. And then the other thing parents say is, oh, yeah, I know, but they listen to their music on it. There are other ways to listen to music. You can get an old CD player. You could get an old iPod. You could probably find a phone that doesn't have anything on it, take all the apps off it, and just use it to stream music. Basically, what I'm saying is there is no reason a teenager needs to have a phone in their room. And if they want it for emergencies, get a landline. I mean, really, or get a flip phone. Really, no phones in the room. Lots of kids tell me that they tell their parents, yeah, but I tell them I'm not on my phone, and they are on their phone. And we know this struggle because we struggle with our phones too. But teenagers, remember, those growing brains, those frontal lobes are not done yet. We cannot expect them to make these great decisions. And when it comes to sleep, it is oh so important. sometimes in my own family, I was able to recognize when somebody wasn't getting enough sleep because that person got anxious or depressed. Sometimes that person was me. And then I would say, maybe the world is not as dark and terrible and nerve-wracking as you think it is. Maybe somebody, that could be me, that could be my kid, needs a nap. Now, speaking of naps, teenagers do sleep in on weekends. And generally, the sleep experts say, don't let them do that because then they won't go to bed on time the night before. The thing is, I think given that our schools start so early, sometimes for some kids, that is the only time they're going to be able to catch up on their sleep. Is it ideal? It is not ideal, but maybe that's what they're going to have to do Saturday. But then maybe you got to wake them up early on Sundays so they'll get to bed at a decent hour Sunday night. The other thing about sleep hygiene is having a bedtime routine. So you know how that worked out so great when you had a preschooler or a toddler that they really liked that routine. It helped them get into the vibe. You need that for your teenager too. And that can be some quiet time. Maybe screens go off and people read. Maybe that's when they listen to quiet music. Maybe you get some smart bulbs that can dim a little bit and help them know that this is quiet time. Whatever works, go ahead and create some kind of bedtime routine for your child. Now, the thing is about teenagers is, of course, they have minds of their own, even more than a 4-year-old, as if that is possible, because 4-year-olds, boy, they're sassy little kids, aren't they? I actually think 4-year-olds are a window into teenagerhood. In any case, you cannot make your child do these things, but you can encourage it. You can educate them about it. You can do what you can to make it easier for them, whether that's removing the phone, turning off the Wi-Fi, whatever, buying the smart bulbs, buying something for their room that plays music so they don't need their phone, all of those things. You can help them figure it out and then remain neutral and supportive. So when they say, I'm really depressed, I'm really anxious, I'm really worried, you can say things like, I don't know if you're getting enough sleep. We may need to think about what could help you get some sleep. You can also point out to them how they do better when they're getting enough sleep. Other things that help sleep beyond sleep hygiene is getting outside, getting fresh air, getting some sun on your body. It just helps our brain know this is daytime. This is when I'm active, so that when we come inside and things are darker and calmer and quieter, it lets our brain know this is rest time. Also, exercise really helps. The hard thing I think about exercise is we have created so much, you should do it, that it actually makes it harder for people to do it. So if you feel like you should do something and it's hard for you to do, and exercise is hard for a lot of us for a lot of reasons, then we feel guilty and then we feel bad about ourselves, and that makes it even harder to exercise. So remember that exercise does not have to be 20 minutes of aerobic activity. It can be a walk around the block. It can be strolling through the neighborhood. It can be a spontaneous dance party in the kitchen. It can be yoga before you wind down for bed. It does not have to be going to Planet Fitness and getting your workout in. But we do know that movement helps us sleep better at night, and it improves our mental health. But back to teenagers, my number one tip for you is figure out the sleep piece. If you need to, talk to your child's doctor, see if they have some thoughts, especially if you're considering trying melatonin, because melatonin can be disruptive for some kids. It can make them dream more vividly. And for a child who is having nightmares, it can cause them to have more intense nightmares. But also, I know these supplements sound easy and you can get them at your grocery store and everybody's using them, but you should talk to your healthcare provider and just get their okay before you start it. Okay, let me know if you have any other questions or thoughts, and I will be back next week. Thanks for tuning in this week. If you have a question you'd like me to address on the show, please go to childanxietysupport.com/question, and you can post it there. Maybe I'll address it on a future episode. And if you'd like to learn more about my program, you can visit childanxietysupport.com. Thanks so much and have a great week.